Good evening and welcome to another episode of Hurdle the Line. I am with a slightly limited, or slightly less number of people today, but we've got some of the usual suspects. We've got Chapman, we've got Oli from the Browns, representing the Browns, the UK Browns NFL, and we've got Tom? Where have you gone? There you are. I can see you now. Tom, you're there, and how are we all doing tonight, lads? How are we feeling about everything that's happened in the last few weeks? We've not been around for a couple of weeks now.
Slightly off the NFL topic, let's congratulate Tom's Timberwolves for beating the world champion Denver last night to make it to the Western Conference Finals. He was wearing a jersey, but we shamed him.
Yeah, we did bully him out of the jersey that he was wearing. So we are sorry to all of the fans that are watching this on video that miss out on on Tom's guns that he was showing earlier.
Brill. So I suppose what we'll do is obviously it's another new episode. I know that not a lot is really happening in the NFL world at the moment with everything in terms of the off season. We're sort of at this sort of little bit of a slow peak, but we've got a few things that we want to talk about, mainly sort of around the recent release of the schedules, a few of the different, most people have watched some of the videos that have been going around from all the releases, talk about a few of the big popular games that have been released, look at the NFL UK games as well, and sort of have a look at the different types of things that are happening with the schedule. But I suppose before we get on to that, we are going to start with our infamous news section and go for Breaking the Huddle. Oli, take it away.
Cheers, Sam. So, filling in for David this week on Breaking the Huddle. Shout out to David. Not obviously a lot going on in the NFL at the minute, as we all as much as we'd like, but we do have a few things this week. So, obviously, Jared Goff signed a 4-year, $212 million extension with the Lions, with $170 million guaranteed. Which, when you pair with obviously Amon St. Brown's contract and Penny Sewell's contract this year, I'm pretty sure that's got to be the most guaranteed money given out by one team in an off season. Former Cardinals running back David Johnson and former Patriots running back Damian Harris have both retired. Damian Harris only being 27, so a little bit of a surprise there. Hall of Fame center Jim Otto died yesterday, aged 86, formerly of the Raiders. So rest in peace to him. And our favourite bit of news that we like to get, helmet headlines. The New York Giants have released their 100th year anniversary helmet, which does also have matching jersey and pants to go along with it, but that's not the part we care about. We care about the new helmet. And I suppose, how does everyone feel about the new helmet is where I will throw it back to.
I'm going to go ahead and say I like them. I like the whole combo. I think it's fun. I like throwback stuff in general. The only one that I haven't liked is we talk about is the Steelers, right? The
Bumblebee.
God awful. Yeah.
It's horrible.
That was.
Horrible.
Yeah. This is fun. 100-year-old team. Not much in America is that old. So I'm excited about it. What did you guys think? I know it's an unpopular opinion to like them.
Yeah, I liked it as well. I thought it was nice. I thought it was quite classic, to be fair. So yeah.
I did not like them personally. I have a problem with a lot of the I like throwbacks to like the 70s, 80s, that kind of era. But when they go like 1920s, 1930s, it's like there's a reason we no longer wear that stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it just, I don't know. I suppose it's cool, and if I was a Giants fan, I might have a completely different opinion on it. With everything it means.
I think they should make them wear
the actual caps. Yeah.
The old caps.
Yeah.
They just play a game in the old
just
caps.
A one bar face mask just going across.
Yeah.
Watch for one season the concussion protocol skyrocket for the Giants.
I should have a team left by the end of the season, to be honest.
I mean,
I think it's weird when they bring these throwbacks from like the 20s or I guess this is the 20s, and they look cooler than they did back then. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's make it look old. I don't know, but I like the one thing I do like is you don't see a lot of the the multicolored but like where it's like not striped, but it's it's that way because like the Falcons have like they're white and then they have like red or black on the ends, on the sides, but you very rarely see it like striped like that.
Yeah.
I think more teams should do that. I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, my biggest gripe was the fact that they just went with beige pants. I'm just not a fan of the beige pant look. Not that I'm a fashionista or anything, but I just don't like them. I just think they look. I mean, I get why they do it, but I just think for me it looks dated. I like the freshness of either like a clear white or something like that personally. But yeah, I mean, I get why he's done it, and I think if I was a Giants fan, I'd probably love it a lot more than like say. Obviously being a Rams fan, I don't particularly, I'm not a massive fan of it, but yeah, I think for me, it's the only thing I don't get with it is that obviously back in the day they didn't really put logos or anything on the helmets and that. So for me, I don't get how it represents the Giants as a whole, unless you obviously know the Giants and you follow the Giants and you understand that that's what they used to look like. To me, it just looks a bit, I don't know, a bit of a mock-up, but like say it's more individual to them, and like I say, celebrating 100 years of being in the NFL, which I think is obviously quite important for teams to celebrate your history. So yeah, that's my view on it anyway.
Look, if you're a Giants fan, you ain't got much to cheer about right now. So
very true. Very
have
true.
something fun, right?
You got to take the small wins where you can, right?
Yeah.
So...
I will say, I don't know if you guys saw though. Actually, I'll bring this up. They did do something really cool for the season ticket holders. They're going to get like commemorative Super Bowl rings from their 4 Super Bowl wins, and like a replica ticket of the very first Giants game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
As a season holder of the Falcons, like I would say, I think I was texting this in our group chat. Like the coolest thing I ever got is like a windbreaker or something like that every year. Yeah, I mean the Falcons do nice things, but like. I would love to have those replica Super Bowl rings. How fun it comes in a nice case and everything. So
although you would
need
need to win a Super Bowl ring firstly for
thanks.
that Chapman. And I can say that because
true.
my team has also not won a Super Bowl, so I'm allowed to make that joke.
Or as every Browns will tell us, you've won 5.
Eight.
NFL.
Thank you very much. And they do.
Ollie, you didn't have to send yourself down that whole path. So we could have just.
But
right.
What does everyone think about the Jared Goff contract then? Do we think it's an overpay? Do we think it's just right? I mean, they had to do it, didn't they? They had to do it.
Yeah, I mean, being obviously him being a former Rams player, and obviously the whole big contract, the big changeover with Stafford and Goff. I mean, I got to witness sort of the bad sides of Goff, and it hurt quite a lot seeing the bad sides of Goff. So for me, I always think it seems like a lot for who he is. Given the situation that they're in at the moment, the connection he has with Amon-Ra, the connections that he has with with Sam Laporta that he's developed, the way that he's playing in Detroit, it feels like it's the right decision for them. And I think as we've sort of discussed in sort of off of here, but in other chats, if they have the opportunity to be able to restructure it as well, then it may pay off even better. So I think it's one of those where in the long run, it will probably be quite good for them. But I still personally think it's a massive overpayment just because of I think I'm a little butthurt about Jared Goff, and I'll always want him to. I don't want him to fail, but I always want him to. I always see him as it doesn't always work, and he's not as good a quarterback as he could be, or what you can see from him.
Yeah,
I think for me, when it comes to, it makes me think back to the trade and how equal the trade's actually been between obviously like Stafford's gone on to get a ring and stuff, but in terms of the actual stats and stuff, since they're both, it's like more or less identical. I don't know. I think he's kind of proven himself. I think when he left the Rams, it was just seen as like a throwaway piece of a conditional whatever pick it was, and like they put him over just because of like how much money he was.
Yeah,
they were just trying
it was
to
that big contract they gave him, wasn't it?
Exactly. And I think he's proven himself in Detroit and just proven himself to be a leader of that team. I think he led the team very well last year as well. like winning their first division title in 30 odd years. So, and also what Oli said previously about the Deshaun Watson trade. At the time, everyone thought that, it was loads and loads of money, but now he's not even like top 15 or whatever. So I feel like as time goes on and these quarterbacks get paid, like, CJ Stroud and Jordan Love and all this kind of stuff, he's just going to fall down the list anyway. And it's just kind of the day and age that we're in, that, it is an inflated market. So I think it was fairly fair.
Yeah, someone that is a little bit nerdy for contracts because of the Browns signing Deshaun Watson to $230 million. I kind of was like, oh wow, I need to understand how this works because that sounds really bad. But like, so obviously, face value, it like in a vacuum, it seems terrible when you're talking about a 29-year-old getting. He's not been inconsistent person in the last few years, but fairly inconsistent in his career, getting 170 million guaranteed over 4 years, which is what 42.5 million guaranteed a year. You can restructure that, you can do what you want with that, but in the end of the day, that money is he's still getting that money. It's a lot of money every year, and I think we all agree they will end up restructuring that, and I'm sure our producer Fletch will hope that he gets another 2 extensions on top of that and finishes his career there. But so, like I said, in a vacuum, it is. You could see where it's not the best deal, but when you look at the fact of, like, you just said, Tom, they're not going to, everything he's done the last year, everything they've kind of achieved the last year, where they're building towards, you're not going to let him then just play his last year out on his contract and hope for the best. It's something they needed to do. And like you said, there's a demand for the quarterbacks. The next one to get paid is always going to want more than the last one. So, yes, you might not think he's worth that, but that's how much you have to pay for a above average starting caliber quarterback, regardless of who they are. So, in a vacuum, you could say it's not a good deal, but I think most Lion fans were rejoicing when they saw the news, and I think it's something they just had to do, really.
I'm just going to say, in piggybacking off that, if you took the results of what Jared's done in Detroit the last 2 years, and not just statistically, but the wins and all that stuff, and you just covered up Jared Goff's name, and you said, this is what you're getting, especially, knowing, you lost Stafford, and now you're having some of the best success you've had in 30 years as a franchise, and your first NFC Championship game. There's no doubt. I think the thing that Jared is getting paid for is that Goff is the undisputed leader of that team. He's the heart of the team, I think. And you don't want to pay for that at sometimes, but I think when you've gone through the decades that Detroit has in terms of, not putting a winning product and having a star player and not being able to star, greats in Megatron and then obviously Barry Sanders, and not being able to get to where Jared Goff is, you pay them. I also think Detroit's just in a serious place where they did such a good job at building their team the last 3 years, because, like I've mentioned this before, they went through a rebuild the exact same time as the Falcons, and the Falcons failed at theirs in a lot of respects. They got the coach wrong, they didn't get the quarterback, and Detroit nailed both of those things. And they're at a place where they picked really great first-round players that they're having to pay at this point too. So I think you keep that offense together. It's the identity of the team, and you ride it for another 3 or so years, and you see where you're at. And like you said, Oli, in 2 years, what they're going to be paying Jared Goff won't be so hard to swallow at this point. And as long as he stays about where he is, which I think he is, you're right. You're not getting a higher ceiling with Goff, but the floor is not terrible either. And I really like him. Honestly, Sam, for as much as you like him, I like rooting for him because I like guys who were cast aside. And I like McVay, by the way, too. So it's like a little weird, but it's good to see him rise above, because I like that in the quarterback position, because we need more quarterbacks in this league, especially in the NFC.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right, Chapman. I think he complements what they do so well in Detroit. Like, even if he's not, top tier, but he's the leader. He's the main like energy guy who gets them going and sets the tone for what they do. So they needed to keep him anyway. Obviously, yeah, they might have overpaid for him, but like, in terms of what he actually brings. It's what they needed as well.
The thing is, and I suppose it's probably the same for a lot of quarterbacks. If you can keep them vertical, majority of the above average to elite quarterbacks will always play well, and you then need to pay those guys. And I think that's probably where he fell down a bit at the Rams, in that we didn't have that, solid like O-line, and I think that caused a lot. I think that's where he became very fragile in our team because of that, and that's why I think I mean, we saw it when we had, was it 15 games in a row where we had it's not the same O-line, and it just basically completely killed Stafford because he went off injured and that. So yeah, I suppose that's probably where I'm looking. I have probably a bit more of a personalized bias because of the fact of what I've saw happen with Goff. But I've got no ill feelings towards him. I do hope that he does well. I mean, I'd rather he didn't win a Super Bowl, because then it looks like the trade is heavily favoured to the Lions. But apart from that, yeah, I'd happily see him do well. I suppose what we'll do now is, obviously we've gone through the contracts and the news, so thank you for that, Ollie. We'll move on to our main section, which is looking at the schedule. So the schedules were released last Wednesday. How are we feeling about the schedules for our individual teams, the games that were released? What we'll do is we'll start with the games that have been released for television to start with. So on the primetime games, we'll start with those for now. How are we feeling about those games? I think, what we think about the games that have been released, the starting games coming up, and then the games throughout the season, Christmas and that.
We're talking like Monday, Sunday night games?
Yeah, so talking sort of the ones that are at the prime time, so the prime time television games, I suppose, for that.
Yeah. I think it's a good schedule. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I tend to not be able to make it on the Monday nights just because I'm old now. But I do like watching them on the reruns in the morning. But I think the Monday night schedule looks. I think they want to give old Troy and Buck the best games they can get, and I think it looks really good. And interesting enough, I think the Thursday night games are quite good. I think Sunday night actually got kind of which used to be the flagship of the NFL primetime. So I think they're really trying to give Amazon also. There's what's everybody? All our teams have a primetime game. What's everybody's team's favorite primetime game that you got off the back? I'm going to go first. Playing Tom's Chiefs.
Ooh.
In Atlanta. It's Monday Night Football, right, Tom?
Yeah, that's right.
Monday Night Football. Coming off of Sunday Night Football against the Eagles in Philadelphia, the Falcons are going to shock the world and only lose by like 3 to 4 points against the Super Bowl champs at home. I'm really excited because we haven't had any, and I just really hope we don't embarrass ourselves. But I'm excited to see what the Falcons can do against the world champs, the best of the best. It's always fun when we get to play those, and they'll be in our building, so that's, thank goodness, we don't have to go to Arrowhead.
Yeah, with the Browns, I mean, we've got 4, and all 4 are in the last 7 weeks of the season, which I hope means that the NFL thinks we're going to be good, and is expecting those games to be of somewhat, importance in terms of playoff implications, things like that. My favourite, I mean, any of the division games, we've got the Steelers and the Bengals. I'd probably go with I don't know. I'd probably say the Miami game on the, week 17. Miami game is probably my favourite out of the hour primetime games, just because of when that game is. Week 17, obviously, it could be massive implications. Miami coming to Cleveland in December. Hopefully, the weather's cold and cold enough for them. So I'd probably say that's for me.
I've probably got 2 because the season opener is always such a great event. Obviously last year against the Lions that was great. But yeah, to go up against the Ravens in a rematch of the AFC Championship game, That is one. And then the other one is definitely playing the Chargers, just because we really want to see what the Chargers bring with Jim Harbaugh. Like, see how this, you know, big O-line, them running the ball, see what they can actually do against us. See if they can, split that series. So, yeah, those are two ones that definitely stand out for me.
I think, yeah, for me, again, similar to sort of yourself, Tom, the opening week game is a big one for obviously going to Stafford Field and playing over in Detroit. That'll be a great game on Sunday on Sunday night. And the other one, which I think is more about the potential playoff implications, and that's the Niners game on Thursday night in Week 15. I think that could be a really important game in terms of deciding who's going to be getting into the playoffs at that point. And if, the Rams can potentially, I'm not saying we will, but could potentially look at taking the NFC West back from the Niners. So I think that could be a really important game. We always have heated games against the Niners. So I think, putting that on Thursday night might be a good game. So
speaking of Niners, Niners Jets as well. The fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to go up against Leonard Floyd, who's the one that just destroyed his entire season, like going up against one of the best defensive lines in the league. Like, it's just like, yeah, they're not doing him any favors, are they? So.
They're not.
And
that's a hilarious weird point.
I hope for the NFL's sake he doesn't do the same thing again, because obviously with them having 6 prime time games in the first 11 weeks of the season, we don't want to have to go through what we went through last year, where we got to watch Zach Wilson in prime time. Although this time it won't be Zach Wilson, it will be whoever their backup is.
Who is their backup?
Who is their backup? I don't actually know. I can't remember, but. We might see Zach Wilson prime time week 13 against the Browns, though, because I'm sure Bo Nix will be benched by then. But
Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor.
I don't mind seeing Tyrod in prime time. To be fair,
I just don't want anything to happen.
Tyrod.
I want Rodgers in the Jets to fail, but I don't want anything bad to happen, because then we have to hear even more moaning by the Jets UK fans for the rest of the season. No offense, Matt, but they were intolerable last year. I'm actually really excited about, and I may stay up for this game, but Baltimore at LA, the Chargers, Week 12, Monday Night Football. I'm excited for that game.
Harbaugh.
I don't know.
Yeah, the Harbaugh.
Yeah, the brother seeing each other again.
Yes.
So I think that'll be a really good game. And then I think we play. I love it because we play the Chargers the next week in Atlanta. So they. I think, or maybe we're in LA. Sorry, I think we might be going to LA. But anyway, that'll be a really good one.
Yeah, I think the good thing is, and I think this is probably one of the things we were talking about earlier, was I think like the Thursday night games were a couple of years ago were quite disappointing. Maybe not necessarily the scheduling of it, but the actual physical games themselves weren't particularly drawing in. It just wasn't. There were some really, really poor games. I think, did we go something like, was it 3 or 4 weeks without even seeing a touchdown on Thursday night or something ridiculous? So
did we have?
Yeah,
was it Panthers? Not Panthers. Was it Commanders? Bears? That was such a bad one.
Yeah, I think wasn't that like 0-0 at halftime or something ridiculous?
Yeah, we had a terrible run it down. I think Denver were heavily featured in that run of games. Obviously, their first year with the Russ experiment. But that kind of leads me to the point that I had. I mean, the Thursday night schedule this year, I think, is probably one of the best primetime slates, and is almost the Monday night schedule to me has kind of replaced the Thursday night schedule. Was kind of like it's kind of lost its tier in the allocation of games that it gets. I mean, they've only got 5 games out of 21, I think, that feature 2 playoff teams from last season, and there's only 2 division games in the entirety of Monday Night Football this year. Whereas you look at Thursday Night Football, yes, they only have 5 games as well that feature 2 playoff teams from last year, but that's out of a smaller amount of games, firstly. And you look at the fact they got 12 division games, compared to obviously Monday night only having 2. So that was quite interesting to see Thursday night get the love that they've not kind of got the last few years, as we've said, and the kind of change in the guard of how they've kind of sorted those slates out, which I think alludes to, like Chapman was saying off air, at the end of the day, it comes down to the money that these streaming sites and stuff like that are offering. So I think we're going to see a more shift in how these games get allocated between the primetime slots.
Yeah, speaking of that, Ollie, as well, the fact that all the Christmas games are going to be exclusively on Netflix, like that is such like a big deal. There's going to be a one specific streaming platform. It's going to be all those games. So
for our UK fans, do we know if that means that they won't be? But will it still be on Game Pass?
They will be on Netflix everywhere.
But will it still also be on Game Pass, or will it strictly only be on? Because obviously
it'll be on Netflix.
That's what I mean. I'm assuming it's strictly only on Netflix.
I think it'll be more like what they do with the Sky games. So they don't. It's really you can't watch many. Yeah, they just black it out. Well, it's on a blackout. So it might be like that.
Mm.
But we've got no announcements yet, do we? So that's not us reporting news or anything. We're just speculating at this point.
Speculating.
No, well, I can speak to this for sure. So because Netflix has wanted to be in the NFL and for a long time, Netflix would not do this deal unless it was everywhere. It's going to be exclusive to them, so it will not be on any other streaming platform at the same time as Netflix. I can almost 1,000% guarantee you that. So this is a big coming out party for them in terms of, especially in the U.S., but in terms of wanting it to be part of live sports in the NFL. So, and I think we have a taster, obviously, in July with the Tyson. Is it Jake or?
Yeah, Jake Paul.
I never remember which of the Paul.
Yeah, it's hard to remember them two, but
yeah. So anyway, it's a really big deal because I think especially for people in the States, because we have a majority of games are free on broadcast stations, and I think the NFL going towards more of a pay model with the streaming and stuff is going to be quite a big change for Americans.
So I saw that it was $800 to $1,000 for the average American to watch all NFL games next season across the whole spectrum. Obviously, us as UK fans, we get kind of confused with the whole, well, why can they not watch this game in this area and this stuff, obviously compared to over here. But with it being on Netflix, let's just hope that they don't cut down as much on the password sharing like they have been the last couple of years, and everyone in the UK can hop on their mate's password and watch them games.
I cannot endorse that. Please, no Netflix. I do not agree with that.
I think as well, this is obviously because, again, like we're saying, it's that Netflix getting into that live sports. So, I mean, they've already signed a massive deal with WWE and that to have their live Raw every single week. So, we are starting to see a lot more. And I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix starts getting more and a few more games. So, obviously, this year it'll start with, this Christmas game, and then maybe they'll move to another game and then another game. Like, it'll just progress, won't it? And
and how crazy is that? What do you say? It said it cost $800 to
$1,000 to
$1,000, and yet you can go to every Panthers home game and it will be cheaper.
I think it's $600. I saw it $600 and something dollars to go to every home game for the Panthers. So.
But speaking of which, the Panthers are the big losers in the primetime schedule, only having their Munich game. So, but fair enough, right? And they also get to play the Chiefs, I believe.
Where they're going to get bludgeoned to death, but
what week is that? I can't remember what week it is. Oh, it's week 12. Is it in Carolina or is it in Arrowhead?
I think it's at Arrowhead.
I think you're right. So that'll be fun for them. But they are going to Munich to play the Giants in their 100-year-old outfits.
Yeah, so we do apologise to any German listeners listening that had to deal with getting that game, because I know we were all
not how we feel about the Germans.
I know I'm sure we were all quite. I'm sure a few of us were quite disappointed with the UK slate that we got, and we can't really be saying much if you look at the game that Germany got. So
I think it's. For me, that those UK games were, and the UK/international, the international games, I don't think were I'm me personally. I'm not, because obviously with the big things we get the chance to watch only a few games a year in sort of England. I think for me these games aren't the big pull that they have been in the last few years. So like, I mean, last year I think the Ravens Titans was quite a big pull game. I mean, I personally was really looking forward to seeing the Falcons play because I'm a big fan of Bijan, so that was good for me. But I just think this year I'm a little bit deflated by it. And if I get the chance, it'll be just the Jets game that I'll probably go and see. But, I think compared to previous years, it feels like a much weaker set of games going off.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the problem is it's the two Jag games back to back too, and I think from what I understand, this is going to be the last year they're going to do that. So that's a good thing. Also, I remember years ago when we first started having these games in London. And this was before I lived here. I remember us Americans would be like, "Oh man, I feel so bad for those guys. We're just sending them like the work." It would be like a Jags Titans game.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, before the Titans were good, like before they had the Henry run and all that, it was just like, why did we do this? What did we do to England? Like, we didn't mean to, It's like, so I think Germany's just having to pay a little bit of their dues right now. They get a couple of stinkers. They did get the Chiefs though, right?
Yeah, they did get Chiefs Dolphins last year. So
yeah, so and you know what? Every one of these games, especially when we have 3 games, one will be awesome. We just don't know which one it'll be, or maybe 2 will be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it's important not to sound like we're being spoiled here as well. Obviously, I mean, to go and see any NFL game live is a privilege, and obviously, something that a lot of people can't do. So not to sound like we're being spoiled little brats here complaining about the games, but when you've had such good games, like you said, Sam, in previous years, and you see these ones on paper, yes, you can say they look terrible, but like you said, Chapman, we don't know how these games could end up on the day. So,
and I suppose, like, when you think about it, if someone like if you just look at the individual players that you'll get to see, you could potentially get to see Aaron Rodgers play. You could get the chance to see Justin Jefferson play. You are seeing some actually really big names available and out there. Well, hopefully available, as long as they don't get injured.
Caleb Williams.
See Caleb Williams, and watch how that offense is gonna pop or not pop.
Throw from a million yards and a million touchdowns.
There are things. I suppose you've got to think about, like with anything, you've got to think about the positivities with it. But I think like you say, we've been blessed with the sort of the games that we've had over the years that to get these sort of games. I think more than anything is to get the Jags twice, and that's more the killer. Is that it'd be nice to see other teams, and I think for fan bases, I think probably like I said, Oli, for you, like not being able to see the Browns in however many years, and for some of the teams that don't always come here, and I get why they don't, but for them not to come, it'd be nice for those fans to be able to see their team. I mean, I've been lucky; I've got to see the Rams play over in England, and obviously we've never seen. I don't think we've had a Chiefs game in however many years. So
no, it's been a while.
Obviously they were in Munich. See Falcons we had last year, but it'd just be nice to sort of have the ability for those teams or fans that don't get to see the teams that they want to see play.
Yeah, and I must admit that does play into obviously why was quite disappointed with the slate as well, because obviously with the Browns coming down to maybe being one of the teams that were in the running for it, and I was obviously as a Browns fan hoping for that. That did kind of put a sour taste when I saw that it wasn't them, and I saw the other games. I don't care about the other games, you know what I mean? So that I will admit to that kind of bias, but I did also forget to say that we will get to see JJ McCarthy hand the ball off 50 times. So I am really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to mention along with the schedule, and I try not to, because obviously every year inevitably as part of the schedule we get the who's got the toughest schedule, the strength of the schedule, and I try not to take too much of a focus on this because I do know that it's so subjective. We don't know how the teams are going to start. We don't know how they're going to play, and it's a lot until we get sort of at least a few games in that it's ever sort of decided. But I did see that 3 of the teams that have the hardest recorded schedules at the moment are all from the same division, which is the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers, which I thought was quite interesting that they have I suppose what we say the most difficult schedule, shall we say, or the toughest schedule.
When you play the AFC North 6 times a season, and that makes up 6 games of your schedule, you're going to be near the top of the rankings for toughest schedule, because most of those teams usually finish with a winning record, and obviously with all 4 teams last season having a winning record, something that's never been done before. They are obviously this year it's going to increase that even more. But I agree with you, Sam. I mean, you can't. We're using a previous season's records to determine, how tough this schedule is going to be next year. But as we all know, the NFL probably sees more turnover in terms of parity than any other league that we follow. So one team that you might think is an easy game might actually be a tough game that year, and one game that might be a tough game on paper. 6 weeks into the season, their QB's out, their star wide receivers out, and it's not a tough game. So it's a very as a Browns fan, obviously we have the toughest schedule according to numbers. It apparently is us this year, and a lot of people are going to be scared of that. But I'm not, like you said, Sam. I'm in the belief that it doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day.
No.
Well, and I can go on the flip side of that, because my team has what everyone's saying is the easiest schedule. And I'm just going to say this. So we opened with the Steelers at home. We have not beat the Steelers in 18 years, including opening our season with them a few years ago, which I watched with my really good friends, LA friends.
I feel the pain,
Brian,
brother.
Who's a Steelers fan. And they beat us. I forgot who got that touchdown, but it was awful. And we exchanged field goals the whole game, and then a touchdown in the last 3 minutes. Anyway, then we go to Philly it's Monday Night Football. I'm sorry, Tom. So we are playing on Sunday Night Football. And then we come back home and we play the Super Bowl winning Chiefs in Mahomes in Atlanta. Then we have 3 division games in a row, starting with the New Orleans Saints, which, as you know, the only entertaining game every year for both the Saints and Falcons is always a Falcons-Saints games, and we play each other really tough. If somehow the Falcons start 0-3, and then we have to play New Orleans, our bitter rival, our season could be done before it even started. And I don't want that, obviously, but you got to get one of those. You got to get a win in one of those first 3 games, and none of those are easy. So,
It's funny that you say that
really
as well, because you look at the Browns start to the season. Yes, we open with Dallas, which, it's Dallas. You can say what you want about them, but it's probably our easiest stretch, our first 5 games. We've got pretty much the whole AFC East with the Giants, Commanders, and Eagles at the end of that stretch. But like you said, that it just proves that you could have a number that says the strength of schedules is hard, but when you actually look at it and, kind of project personally, it doesn't really align. And like we said, it's not really something that I get too worked up about.
Yeah, I think I was going to say a lot of it comes as well in when they look at the schedules and see teams coming off bye weeks, which again could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It's all individual as well, and I think because I think is it this year the Niners have to play four games on the bounce of teams coming off their byes, something like that.
But that was the Chiefs last year, and as we all know, they won the Super Bowl. So it can't be that much of a, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
it was the same with us last year. We had the same situation.
And you made the playoffs.
Yeah, so it honestly can just depend on how the team does, and like I say, the season can change in the flip of a game for most teams. So it's I like to see what they predict, but I take it with a huge pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, with the Chiefs, they open up against the Ravens, and then the next game they got the Bengals, back to back AFC North. And that projected to be 2 good teams, but you're right. DVOA or whatever they do it by, that doesn't project on. But the Bengals recently, started slow as well. Usually, slow started season and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really factor that in, any of that stuff. And then I want to say one more thing about the Chiefs as well, is that if they're the first team since the 1927 New York Yankees, which were a team to play on 6 days of the week. The only day of the week that they're not playing on is on a Tuesday. So yeah, that's going
I'm
to be
sure your boss is
crazy
really happy
schedule-wise.
about that.
Oh yeah, I'm
Really
sure
happy.
Andy Reid's absolutely fired up about
No, I mean your
that.
boss
So.
personally. I mean in work, trying to book all these
Oh
different
yeah.
days off, and you're going, hold on a minute. I thought they only play on Sundays and Monday.
I know.
At least he can
Honestly,
spread his days off about a bit, and it
Yeah,
looks less suspicious than every single Monday off.
that is true.
Mm.
That is true.
It feels like it's going to be easier this season though, because I think last season, I don't know, it seemed like a lot of the primetime games for the Chiefs were like quite close together. So they played like the Eagles in prime time, and then they played the Jets
Yeah,
and
I mean it's like the
whatever.
Browns this year. We got 4 in 7 weeks at the end of the season, so all the time that I've been asking my boss off for is obviously December, November. But luckily, as usual, we've got 10. I think 10 1 p.m. Eastern time, so 6 p.m. here games, which I know a lot of people don't like because they, it's only your fan base watching that game. Really, it's not a national audience. But as a UK fan, I do quite like the 6 o'clock in the evening games.
I love the 6 o'clock games. I
Because
love the 6
I
o'clock
get to
games.
watch it. I don't have to go. I don't have to wake up really tired. I get to get a good night's sleep, and you can then also catch the only thing I do not like about it is not being able to watch obviously the 6 o'clock slate and Red Zone and everything that comes into that. But you can watch the later slate anyway to make up for that.
Oli, we gotta help you on this, man. You gotta watch That's what's so fun. You gotta watch all the games.
I do.
I do. I watch Red
But
Zone
when the
all
Browns
time.
are on, it's so hard for me to look at the other. If I've got another screen there with Red Zone on, it might as well not be there because I'm so enticed by the Browns game that I just can't focus.
You don't get disgusted at a certain point. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Last
The
few
Falcons
years, not
get
so much, but
demoted
before
to
it was a lot
to
easier.
smaller
To be
screen.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
It was
I mean,
easier to do that years ago.
I don't know if you guys saw in the breakdown. I think there's 4 times this year where there's like 10 games at 1 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and like 3. It's like, man, come on. You can kind of split those up a little bit. I like having like 6-ish, and then 4 or 6
Yeah,
and 5
I like
or
6 and
something
4.
like
I like 6 and 4.
that.
Yeah.
Like I said, my first couple of years living here, it was a real adjustment because in LA, football starts at 10 a.m. It's amazing. You have coffee, you're getting up, and then kickoff's there, and you're just ready to go. And then it ends early, and then you can have your afternoon. But it's obviously the complete opposite here. But,
Complete opposite.
I have a problem.
We just wait about all Sunday until 6 o'clock when Red Zone
Yeah.
Supporting a Pacific side team, a lot of their games are 9:25 or potentially 1 o'clock games. So for me, it's always I usually get to watch the Rams live because they're always usually on around 9:25, the 9:25 kickoffs. But yeah, it can be a bit difficult because there's so many times. I think more speaking from my friend who's a Seattle Seahawks fan, all of their games seem to be on at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I think he really struggles with watching them. But I think for me, obviously, having a kid soon, I'll be up anyway, so I'll have an excuse.
You can watch it 4 in the morning. It doesn't matter. It's the same with NBA as well. I mean, obviously, as a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, I was blessed that I got to watch. They were slightly earlier slates at 1 in the morning, whereas you got the Lakers and teams out west like that are playing at 3:30. It's starting at 3:30 in the morning over here, which.
Mate, you should have seen me last night.
Yeah, that was 1 o'clock.
The game started. I mean,
I was up last night.
It was like 4 a.m. and I was like shouting out of my room, like being like, "Yes,
I mean,
we just
those
beat
3:30
the
games. You're not going to bed until 6 o'clock in the morning, and at that point,
crazy.
what's the point even going to bed?
What's the point even sleeping?
So I am quite lucky as a fan of an East Coast team. Well, they'd say what is it, Midwest, but on that side of the time zone difference.
I think before we move on, I think it is just worth mentioning with our producer being a Lions fan that the Lions do have a very difficult start with having a wild card, obviously playing the Rams week 1 and then divisional opponents in week 2. So that's quite a tough start to a season. When considering, I mean, to be fair, I think Lions are probably up there with the Niners being probably one of the favourites for the NFC this year. So that they are going to be one of the better teams, I think, this year. But I think it's still to start that way, to start off against divisional a wild card playoff team from last year and then the divisional opponents. is quite an interesting start.
I'll tell you one that was interesting was the fact that the Colts got hardly any primetime games as well. Do you know, I think they could be a really good team this year, to be honest. So seeing them, did they only get one? Was it one they got? Or was it two?
The Colts.
Two.
I think it was two.
I think it might be, but
I think it might have been.
See,
just
personally, I'm happy about that because that means I get to see Anthony Richardson at 1 o'clock most weekends.
Yeah,
Sorry,
very
6
true.
o'clock
I mean, I want to watch it.
Yeah. But like you
exactly,
said,
definitely.
I think they are getting a little bit slept on. But I think to throw back to the Lions schedule as well, they got the dreaded week 5 bye, which we had last year. And I'm not saying it was the sole reason, but I don't think you can tell me that it didn't contribute to the fact that, you know, a lot of those players were falling like flies towards the end of the season. And then when you factor in that if you don't have a Thursday night game as well later on in the season, it's the season really does start to drag when your bye is that early. So that was one of the first things that kind of popped out in my eye, was trying to see where teams had their bye weeks. And luckily the Browns got a week 10 one this year.
Oh, you got a week 10 one. We got a week 8 one,
which I think week 10 is probably around where you want it. You want it to be pretty much slap bang in the middle.
You'd want it like, I'd say like week 12 or so. But yeah, I think the Chiefs got week 8, which I don't think they'll be happy with either, because he's got so much more of the season to go.
We've got week 6 this year, so that'll be interesting. That plays out.
But then we've got 2 Thursday night games in the last 7 weeks as well. So short rest for the game, but then obviously get the extended mini bye afterwards. So there's no arguments Chapman? From me from the schedule.
Chapman, what about the Falcons? When's their bye?
I just was trying to look. I can't remember. I bet we have a later one. I think it's like 12. It's somewhere in it's pretty favorable for
Falcons is. I did just have it up a minute ago. By week 12.
Week 12.
Yeah.
So. Weirdly, I just found out. I did not realize this in all the years I've lived here. I just Googled the Falcons schedule earlier, and if you Google it, it puts the games the way you guys do in the UK, where the home team is the first.
Have you only just realized
I hate that?
You only just realized that?
I hate it. No, I know that it's, but I never realized that they because I thought I was looking at the Falcons schedule, and then I'm like, wait, what? Oh, and then I realized it immediately, but that's just.
The thing is, though, it was confusing in the past because obviously you get focused on how they do it in America, and then you doodle it, and you'd be like, wait, hold on a minute. Like you said, you look at it and go, I thought it was the Browns at home. Oh, wait, no, they're nice enough to do it like obviously we do it over here in the UK. So to But even the Cleveland Browns app has the UK times on it. So obviously it figures out your location, and it will give the dates. I'm sure they all do, and it'll give the dates and obviously everything that's in where your location is, which is handy.
Well, the amount of times that I've searched up when the time is on like what do you call it, like Eastern time, I'll be like, all right, what's 8 p.m. Eastern time?
I've got them all saved on my phone. I've got when you're on the phone, you've got the time zones. I've got all the American time zones, so I can keep up with the sports.
When we came out of lockdown back in 2020, my friend, who's a big Canadian, she's like, hey, do you guys want to go see that team Wrexham that Ryan Reynolds and the dude from Always Sunny bought, because they're going to be in London playing whatever team? We're like, yeah. She's like, all right, I'll get us all tickets. So we all my friends, we all go out to somewhere. It's like an hour outside of London. I don't know where it was. We walk up to the stadium. There's no one there. And there's a bar inside the stadium, this club. And there's just these people watching football. And we were like, there's no game today. They're like, no, it's in Wrexham. And we were like, because she had looked at it, like the North, because she had flipped it.
Yes.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant.
So we just had a pub crawl after that, but yeah.
Well, at least it ended up in something all right then.
Yeah, exactly. At least the day wasn't
a beautiful day.
Completely. There you go. Still made the most.
Obviously, as the resident Welshman, it was quite funny to see all the kind of media frenzy that went into around Wrexham as a place, let alone a sports team. It was great to see, and it's great to. They've done really well, back-to-back promotions now.
I was going to say they got promoted this season.
Yeah, into League One now, so pretty nice. Anything that boosts the economy in Wales is going to be a good thing for everyone. So,
on the topic of media frenzies, we'll come on to our final section. what do we think? So the question that we're going to go with is, who had the best and the worst schedule release videos for 2024? Anyone want to start with their favorite one that we saw? I mean, I know obviously there's a consensus of which is probably seen as the better ones.
Yeah, I think the Chargers probably do claim the award again if we were going to do just a rank them all and which one was the best. You look at kind of all the backhanded jabs, the jokes that they had in it was really funny. I mean, even if it's about your own team, you had with the Browns, they had obviously the elves in the factory making all the I think it was like jerseys, and they were putting them in boxes with all the former quarterback names on them, and then even had the sign outside that said at least it's not Detroit and things like that. And it was just really cleverly done, and like you said, I think we all can agree that's probably the best one, which is why I wanted to just mention that one. But I think you guys have some other ones, because I think most people are going to be talking about that one being the best one across most things. So I think there is a couple that you guys have.
Yeah, I quite like the Rams one. Obviously, being a fan like GTA and stuff, like the style of it, like going through the different locations and all that. I thought that was quite an engaging one. I like that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure Sam did too.
I like some of the digs. Obviously, I've already made reference to the one that our producer absolutely does not like, with the reference to Stafford and Ford Field. I mean, that one was obviously a big one. I think a lot of people might have, I don't know if people saw it, but there was if people remember the clip from last year when Aaron Donald was blitzed onto Geno Smith and he was, oh my God, that was on the billboard behind as well. And obviously reference to Donald Field, because he had, 15 sacks against the Seahawks, and they
terrorized the Seahawks.
Yeah, and then there was the reference to, I think, was it Fast and Furious, where they do the fast turn off from San Francisco to Santa Clara, which obviously is a dig at that. And then the reference to Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us" was also thrown in there as well. So yeah, there was some really good ones for the Rams. I really liked it. I think it was a lot of fun to watch and sort of see some of the references that were in there. And I mean, like I say, it's all just in jest. It's all in having a bit of fun and that. And I think some of the ones have been brilliant this year. I think my other favourite one, which I know it's not necessarily an original idea, but I really like the Titans one. The way that they did that, I get it. It's been done before, so it wasn't an original idea, but I like the simplicity of it. But it just played on the whole comedy elements.
Honestly, I think them doing it again, it's like I was saying earlier, it's like a comedy sequel. It's never as funny the second time, but it still was really funny. And I think the timing on the da 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 music every time is just great with it. I'll just say this: shout out to the NFL teams who actually have fun social media and marketing teams. I'd like to say the Atlanta Falcons are definitely one of those teams, because they are fun and they do a great job. I really love the NFL Streets thing that they did. But as you said, it's great to see like teams like the Chargers, like the Rams. I even would say the Browns. I really like the Browns, the Bowler. I thought it was really fun. Like the teams that actually don't take themselves so seriously.
Who do you think you are? I am.
I am. It's because it should be fun. Social media should be fun.
It's even funny he said that to a 12-year-old as well.
He didn't say it he didn't say it in the video, which is a bit annoying. They definitely should have got him to say it, but I'm not sure why he was in it. They had the shout out to the Big Lebowski film, obviously the bowling analogy there, which I suppose that's why they got him in the end. And they had a couple of funny jokes in there. They had the thing of Ben Roethlisberger sat on the bench crying after the playoff game, and Lamar going to the toilet, which I don't really know why we joke about, because he came back off the toilet and beat us. So I'm not really sure why.
And then scored the touchdown straight away.
To be honest, so that was kind of a backhanded slap on themselves, really. But I agree with Chapman. I mean, teams that have these fun social media teams, it's just more fun if your team is one of those teams to interact with their social media. You look at quite a lot of other NFL teams, they have quite boring and dull social medias, as shown by the schedule release, kind of stuff that we do with that. I mean, a couple of I think there was one team that didn't even do a video and just released the schedule, said they weren't a part of it. And I suppose that kind of does anyone have any they didn't like? Because I know I've got a couple.
Yeah, I have one, and it's actually a division rival because obviously the Chargers smashed it, but the Broncos one I thought was super cringy. I watched it. It was with they got Lewis Hamilton to taste different foods that were supposed to represent the different it just didn't seem to work very well, to be honest. I mean, it was just a weird one. I was watching it, I was like, yeah, I don't know, it just didn't really connect.
I mean, the ones I didn't like, the Raiders first. I mean, they did this weird kind of cringe hype video about themselves that had nothing. There was no nod to any of the teams that they were playing in the schedule. There was no nod to the actual schedule itself. It was just this, we're the Raiders, we're Las Vegas, like they're actually good team and they can do that. And they did this whole no gimmicks, and just released the schedule at the end in print. And it's like, look, you're not the Patriots on their dynasty run. Like you've made the playoffs twice in 20 years, and you're acting like you're one of the upper echelon teams in the NFL, and you're too serious to be playing a game in this schedule release video stuff. And I just thought it was just cringe overall, really, and didn't really like that one. And I think as well the Chiefs and Texans, they did the same thing. Like they did the exact same thing. Like I know that it's probably every team isn't on a call saying, right, what's your idea? Just we don't want to do the same idea, but literally the same idea of the thing coming down and crushing the opponent.
I didn't even see the Texans one. I saw the Chiefs
It's exactly the same.
Really?
As the Chiefs.
Wow.
It's the same, even pretty much the same machine. But at least the Texans, on a couple of theirs, they used the digger on their division opponents instead of the machine. So theirs was a little bit more exciting than your Chiefs was.
I actually quite liked it, but the only reason I liked it,
not when two teams did the same thing.
True.
Press machine that they had come down. Which
I just liked it. It just crushed the thing. It's quite satisfying to look at. That was the only
very
thing
much going for the ASMR route. Was
Do you know what you crushed for the Browns? Because I don't want to ask.
No,
even though I did just ask, but. Did you see
I don't really know what that. I don't really know what that was.
I think it was meant to be like the little fudge chocolate, something like that.
I mean, pardon my French. It looked like what you would do a number two on the toilet. And I was thinking they're not actually doing that, are they? That's a bit of an odd
Ollie,
thing to do.
Did you watch 32 schedule release videos? Or 31?
No comment. To be honest, I really didn't like the Miami Dolphins one. I get why they were doing it. It was like that. Obviously, they're known as being the speed team, but I wasn't a massive fan of it. I thought it was just a bit. It just happened and it was done, and I didn't particularly like that because, like I say, I like the ones where they actually show a bit of effort. So even ones I get Lewis Hamilton, trying foods wasn't great, but at least they had an idea that they sort of ran with. It just
they went for it.
It was the Cardinals that didn't even do anything, which kind of represents them as a team right now. To be honest,
I was trying to remember what team it was. I knew there was a team that just released the schedule normally. I'm pretty sure.
Is Lewis Hamilton a Broncos fan, or did they?
He's part owner.
He's part owner. That's
right. He jumped on that ownership group, obviously a couple of years ago when they were put up for sale, which. Is an odd one, but I suppose in the age of.
But the Waltons own that team. Why do they need anyone?
Yeah,
I guess he's it's the help.
Yeah, it's just a brand thing, really, isn't it? Oh, look, we've got Lewis Hamilton involved. He's got 120 million followers on Instagram. So.
And the majority of Americans are going.
Yeah. Who? Sorry. Is that NASCAR?
He was on that Netflix show. I like that Netflix show.
Didn't the Giants do something similar to the Titans, but it didn't hit at all or something? I don't remember watching it. I just remember hearing about it. That it was just a bit like a man on the street sort of thing, and it just didn't work compared to when the Titans obviously did theirs. So that was maybe one of the ones I think that's been.
I was going to say I'm not sure if it was the Giants, but I did see that one team did a pretty much similar idea. I quite like the Eagles one. If anyone saw that one, where it was like an interrogation room, and they were it was this kind of scientist interrogating different fans and what their opinions were when they saw certain images, and obviously it had stuff to do with the teams that they were playing against. And I thought that one was quite creative and fun. But like you said, Sam, at the end of the day, to me, if you've made the effort, that's all that really matters. Just it's become a tradition now almost in the NFL. This whole schedule release video thing. So
I quite like the build. I quite like the Bills one, to be honest. The one with Josh
Allen.
Allen, where do you know when he goes onto the construction site?
Yeah,
that one was good.
Yeah,
I like that one because I think he's got a good sense of humor and stuff as well.
He's quite good. He's good on the match that they do, the golf things.
Yeah. Sometimes at night, I take the helmet off.
I wouldn't be surprised if they got Keon Coleman in on the next video because he is an absolute gem of a person. He's absolutely brilliant.
Me and Oli were saying this earlier. There's Keon Coleman, and then there's Xavier Legette, who plays for the Panthers, who just has the most southern accent you've ever heard in your life. It's just
I think he would make even Chapman would probably struggle to understand a lot of the stuff.
Oh no, I've heard him. Yeah,
that Xavier Legette is saying. I mean, wow, yeah. And as someone that was beating the drum for Keon Coleman before the draft, I'd like to say it's because I knew he was this funny, but even I've been very surprised at how funny he actually is, and it's a joy to see. At the end of the day, they're playing a game that we hope that they love. So when you see someone, treating it as such, it's always refreshing to see.
Yeah, without obviously trying to make too many comparisons, I don't know. There's something about Keon Coleman that gives me Jack Grealish vibes. He's just that sort of really innocent guy that just sort of
the innocent Joker type. Yeah,
he just and some of the way that he when he was talking about his coat, just going, "Where'd you?" It's from Mason.
He wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. Someone actually went and searched. He wasn't lying. You can get it, and it was on sale, so he wasn't lying.
Yeah. I think everything. He's going to be one of those that I think his character is just going to become part of the NFL, and I really like that. I like seeing people like that come through. So yeah, I'd like to see him. Any Bills fans or any links to the Buffalo Bills,
Late Erie Bros.
Get Keon Coleman onto your next scheduled video.
I mean, he should have been a Brown, but I suppose the best I can result in is a Late Erie Bro. So.
Well, I mean, what we'll do is, obviously that's going through pretty much everything that we've gone through. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, going through all the schedule and sort of seeing our opinions on what the best and worst videos were, and like I say, all the other helmet headline news that we will continue to bring for you every single time we're doing this. So, lads, it's been an absolute pleasure. We keep doing this every single time we can, and we'll be back again very soon with everyone's opinions, probably on more news and hopefully a bit more things that I'll pick up over the next few weeks in sort of the changes. Obviously, I'm not going to be here for a couple of weeks with soon to be dad, so you'll have to Chapman, you'll have to take over from me and take over from doing the trying to control this rabble and sort them all out for us. But in the meantime, lads, it's been absolutely brilliant, and I'll see you all very soon.
Yep. Cheers, guys, and good luck with the baby, Sam.
Yeah, congratulations, Sam. You're good.
One more Rams fan to add to the 20 they already had.
Yeah.
Hurdle that baby, Sam.